The anime started with someone who seemed to be leaning against a tree in the forest. This man apparently fell asleep while playing the game, and he woke up in the world of the game he had just played. He couldn't hide his shock at what had happened to him. This man has now transformed into a character in a game called Ark. At a glance, it can be seen that Ark is a knight character with white armor. His body is also big and sturdy. In terms of character, Ark is an overpowered knight, and in addition, he has two roles where his main job is a holy knight, and his sub-job is Pope. Ark can use his skills from the lowest level to the highest level, which is a Pope. This is what causes Ark to be so overpowered. Not long after, Ark felt hungry, and he decided to go to the city by teleportation. But in this first try, the teleportation failed because the skill could only be used to visit previously visited places. This skill is called Gate. After realizing his mistake, he then tried another skill, namely Dimension Move. Due to skill limitations, it could only take Ark to the riverbank closest to the city. While on the riverbank, he saw the reflection of his own face and was surprised that behind his armor mask, his face was shaped like a skull. This skull face was because it was his avatar. This worried him because he would make humans misunderstand his skull. Ark was determined not to want to appear flashy. After that, Ark went to a nearby town called Louvierte. He passed through a small alley and met an elf who was arguing with an informant. Seeing this, Ark was overjoyed because this was his desire to play the game. However, suddenly the elf disappeared into the crowd. Ark then remembered that his main goal was to buy food. He decided to become a mercenary in the temple to earn money. However, he needed to collect one wild animal, one monster, and one bandit to get the job. He heard the terms, rushed away, and easily got a beast and one monster. Ark then finds a group of bandits attacking women. The girl was apparently a noble who was about to be violated by the bandits. Due to Ark's power, he could easily kill the bandit by splitting him into two and killing other bandits who tried to escape with the wyvern/skill. Ark then loots the belongings of the bandit he just defeated. The noble princess he had just saved asked for help to be able to escort her to the city. And after he escorted the princess, Ark immediately returned to the temple to hand over the beasts, monsters, and bandits. At that time, Ark had just realized that the monster could drop magic stones, give it magic items, and so on. The hungry Ark immediately ate in his room because he didn't want to scare others with his skull avatar. Even though he was a skeleton, he did feel hungry and thirsty. Ark was tantamount to giving the body in the other world what it needed by eating and drinking. Next, Ark received a quest to accompany a child in the village named Marka. The quest is to be able to accompany Marka to look for herbs in the forest. Ark is kind to her, as she has the intention of helping her mother. In his search, Ark meets a sacred animal named Ponta. When they arrived at the place to look for plants, they found a sleeping giant basilisk that was preparing to attack Marka. There was a fierce battle between the giant basilisk and Ark. Ark launched a judgment attack on the giant basilisk and was able to split the giant basilisk into two pieces. He then also attacked a type of monster called the fanged boar, which had been disturbing the villagers in their activities. After successfully killing the fanged boar and collecting herbs, he distributed the animal's meat to the villagers. The next day, Ark again defeated the bandits in a cave. Thanks to his victory, he got a lot of loot from the bandit. Meanwhile, one of the nobles in the Dinto kingdom, named Traiton du Dinto, seems to be scolding one of his staff for failing to kill the princess of Louvierte, who was saved by Ark. In addition, Traiton is also one of the masterminds of many giant basilisk attacks and the mastermind of the burgeoning elf slave trade. He plans to send the slave to a place to be employed. One day, Ark meets an elf he met the other day in an alley. The elf, who is also a knight, then attacks Ark because she mistakenly thinks he is a bad person. Ark then shows Ponta, a sacred animal that is his pet. He says that Ponta can't possibly be near a bad person. The elf then left Ark just like that. However, Ark felt compelled to chase after the elf. He wanted to get to know her better because this was a rare opportunity. He was determined that he must chase the elf the next day. The next day, Ark heads to the forest, searching for the elf woman. But when he arrived in the forest, he met a group of elf kidnappers and saw some elves in a cage. Suddenly, the elf whom Ark met yesterday came out from behind the forest and attacked the group of kidnappers. Seeing that, Ark immediately helped her with the skills he had. Ark can defeat the kidnapper easily, and after the elves who were in the cage were released, he became acquainted with the female elf named Arian Glenny's Maple. She is the daughter of an elf chieftain. Not long after, a sacred animal appears that informs Arian that she has found the elf kidnapping base commanded by Traiton. Arian then asks Ark to help her go to the kidnapping base and defeat Traiton Dinto. Ark agreed to help Arian. Ark and Arian teleported to a nearby place in Dinto City. They then meet an elf who is Arian's friend named Donka. Donka is an elf who gives Arian information through sacred animals. To Arian and Ark, he informs them that the kidnapping base is near the entertainment venue. In the evening, they performed a dimensional move, a very rare and unusual skill. Arriving at the headquarters, they did not find anyone there. until finally they met a ninja who informed them that the elves were being held in the dungeons. The ninja then gave the elf a letter of agreement as evidence, and he disappeared. Ark, Arian, and Donka rushed to the dungeon and found many kidnapped elves. The elves seemed relieved to see their arrival. They then teleported together to immediately leave the base. Not to forget, Ark also easily removed the seal attached to the necks of the kidnapped elves. Silently, Donka started to wonder who Ark was and why he had such extraordinary skill. Meanwhile, there are still 2 more elves to save, and they are in the palace belonging to the Dinto Kingdom. Ark and Arian arrive just before Trayton do bad things to the 2 elves. In addition, they also beat Trayton. Meanwhile, Ark accidentally finds a room containing treasures from the Dinto Kingdom. Because Ark needs money to survive, he decides to rob Dinto and argues that Dinto doesn't have the capital anymore to do evil. They then return with Ark's teleportation skill. Arian then invites Ark to go to the elf village. Ark agreed, but he said he couldn't remove his armor. Arian asks Ark's reason and is answered by Ark that he is currently being cursed into a skeleton while removing his armor mask. Arian thought that it was still acceptable, and after all, he had a sacred animal that was always by his side. Meanwhile, King Rodan and his princes named Sekt and Dakaris discuss what is happening in the Dinto Kingdom. The king wondered why there was an attack in the kingdom. Sekt replied that there was a treaty that the Dinto Kingdom had broken with the elves, but Dakaris dismissed it and said it was just bullshit. The king calmed them both down and asked his third princess, Uriarna. Uriarna said that they had to confirm the news that was circulating. The king then sent Uriarna to Limbolt City to find out what really happened. The prince of Dakaris seemed displeased with the king's direction. Meanwhile, Ark and Arian have arrived at the elf village, and they are greeted by the village head who is Arian's parents. They were named Dylan and Glenys, and Ark were greeted warmly by them. While Arian and Dylan went to the village meeting to discuss the human race's treatment, Ark and Glenys went to have their skills battle. Although Ark did not use all of his skills, he had to admit that Glenys was very good at martial arts, and Ark was made powerless by Glenys. In the evening, they then decided to relax. While relaxing, Dylan asked Ark to be able to help Arian in quelling the evil that had been experienced by the elves. In exchange, Dylan offers Ark to take him to the Holy Spring, which can remove all curses guarded by the Dragon Lord. The Dragon Lord would allow Ark to enter if he brought the elves. The next day, Ark and Arian begin their mission to save the elves. On the way, they meet a group of haunted wolf monsters that they can easily defeat. But suddenly, Ponta behaved unusually. Apparently, Ponta realized that Princess Uriarna was currently in the forest, and they were being attacked by a group of assassins. Princess Uriarna and several of her bodyguards were killed in the attack. Ark and Arian rushed towards the assassins who had just attacked, and suddenly, the haunted wolf monsters they had just defeated helped them defeat the assassins. Ark then used his skill to revive Uriarna's daughter. Princess Uriarna was shocked by what had just happened, but she still had to continue her mission to the city of Limbolt. Meanwhile, Ark and Arian continued their journey and arrived at Olaf City. There they met a ninja who helped them in the kingdom of Dinto. The ninja was named Chiome, who came from the Jinshin clan. Ark and Arian then explained the purpose of their visit to the city of Olaf, namely to free the elf slaves in one of the castles called Estuado Firm, the largest slave trade place. In the evening, they moved to ambush the Estuado Firm. Chiome was also accompanied by his friend Goemon from the Jinshin clan. They broke through the gates of the Estuado Firm with Ark's stone attack skill. Goemon's job is to finish off the guards while the others go to where the elves are hostage. After finding the elves, Ark goes to Goemon to help him and destroy the Estuado Firm. They then gathered at a point to immediately leave the place. On the other hand, Dakaris was killed by his own brother because Sekt had learned of his plot. And what Dakaris didn't know was that Sekt killed him because he wanted to be the successor to the throne of the Rodan kingdom. Meanwhile, Uriarna had arrived in Limbolt and learned of the news that Dakaris had died and the Estuado Firm had been destroyed. She then ordered her guards to cover up the news that she was still alive. She did this as one of her strategies to complete her mission. Meanwhile, Ark, Arian and the others are on their way to the Leblanc kingdom. This kingdom had a king named Domitianus. One of the people in the Leblanc kingdom is the mastermind behind the presence of monsters that are sealed and do not live in their habitat. Ark and Arian are resting in a town when they are approached by an elf named Arcee. Arcee saw Ark's extraordinary skill and asked for help to catch the worm monster that was haunting the city and used it as research. He offers rewards in the form of a map of the city of Leblanc and an encyclopedia. The next morning, Ark headed to the giant worm's location and saw that the worm was wearing the same seal bracelet as the monsters he had met before. Ark can defeat the monster easily. Arcee then gave them the promised reward. He also advised Arian that not all humans are evil to elves. Humans and elves can coexist peacefully. Arriving at the Leblanc kingdom, they split up to look for information. While scattering, Ark then heard a woman screaming. Apparently, the woman was being robbed and Ark saved her. She then hugged Ark as a thank you. Arian apparently accidentally saw this and she was jealous. Still, in a state of jealousy, Ark and Arian go to the kidnapper's house. There Ark met Fumba, the mastermind behind the monsters that had been roaming around attacking other cities. But just as she was about to attack the monster, Arian suddenly turned around to attack Ark. It turned out that she had been influenced by one of Fumba's pet monsters. Ark then gets angry with Fumba and destroys his monster. Their struggle is apparently still not over. They still have to destroy Fumba's Hydrangea monster, which is very strong and even capable of defeating the monster. Ark fights Hydrangea with his various skills such as Dimension Move, Wyvern Slash, and also Judgment. However, the attack is still not optimal, and Ark decides to call for help from Ifrit, who is the demon god of hell, even though Ifrit can only help him for 5 minutes. Thanks to Ifrit's help, the Hydrangea eventually dies. Elsewhere, Arian and Chiyome manage to kill Fumba. Meanwhile, Uriarna made a peace treaty with the elves and apologized for kidnapping them. They then wanted humans and elves to coexist peacefully. On the other hand, Ark, Arian, and Chiyome currently have a new mission, which is to find the Holy Spring. The anime ends. The moral of this anime is to always cooperate with trusted people to achieve far-reaching goals.